And our next speaker is Carina Haupt. And Carina Haupt is coming from the German Aerospace Center. And she is team lead sustainable software engineering and deputy head of department at the Institute for Software Technology, Intelligent and Distributed Systems. And Carina will let us a little bit more to know about her career and her research in her interesting talk right now. And please don't forget to let us know your questions during the talk. Carina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much and welcome. Yes, as already mentioned, my name is Carina Haupt. I work for the Institute for Software Technology. And let's start directly in and dive into my talk, where I want to present you a little bit about myself. So I started very classical, went to university, did first my bachelor's and then my master's in computer science, a bit in advance of where the master became like the typical thing you did at university back then. Most people still did the diploma, but my university already offered that. And already doing my studies, I was working at Fraunhofer as a student assistant and got a little bit hooked on bioinformatics. Not so much about the biology behind it, but by using computer science for a specific field. So looking over the computer science area and look how can I use it to achieve something in a different field to get more productive. And so I worked there doing my studies for quite some years. But when I finished in 2010, I decided I want to go into industry, because I got the feeling like, okay, software development is researched. It's developed in research, but so it's happening there, but it's kind of unstructured. It's not like how you should do it. So I decided to go into industry for a time and get an idea about how software is developed by industry standards for real big projects and so on. I stayed there for like 1.5 years, and then by some more or less random coincidence, I went back to my old boss, to Fraunhofer, and worked there as a scientific software developer. I was hired via the University of Bonn. It was like a combination project. And while I worked as a software developer and software engineer at my company in industry, it was called CI, I took a lot of this experience I collected there and brought them into research. So I went back to where I started and was like, okay, back then I thought software development is kind of crazy here. It's not structured. There's definitely room for improvement. And so I kind of attacked that. So I came back and I had a research project I should be working on, and I worked some of my time on it, but I also spent quite some time to introduce software engineering technologies, to bring these people who I worked with to develop software in a sustainable way so that others could use it, that it could be reused from other people, especially results of master's theses, of bachelor theses, of PhD theses. So I was really interested in doing things like that. And I kind of lost a little bit track sometimes of my own research project because I spent a lot of time doing this. And then in 2013, I moved to Berlin for private reasons and kind of continued doing what I was already doing. So due to me giving a talk on another conference and being organizer on another conference again, I met my current boss, and he asked me if I want to work for him like 3 times until I said yes. And that's how I ended up with German Aerospace Center, DLR, where I first was a researcher for 1 year and then became head of the Sustainable Software Engineering Group. And I kind of continued doing what I was already started doing. But now I was really focusing it. It was really my main task. Like, how can I address researchers who write code and support them to develop software? in a sustainable way so that others can use it, that it's reusable, it's reproducible and stuff like that. And so this is what I'm still dealing with today. In 2020, I also became vice head or deputy head of the Department Intelligent and Distributed Systems in my institute, allowing me to cover even more topics and address this this mission I have on even some more levels. So this is what I'm currently working on. And I already mentioned my motivation and the resulting journey. I already explained that a bit. So in the end, my motivation at the beginning was really effectiveness. I was annoyed from software development being not effective, and I liked to introduce processes. I liked to introduce structure in my work, so I became a software engineer. And because I had this context of developing software and research already early on during my studies and later back, I went back there. I started to focus on something which today is called research software engineering. So I became kind of a research software engineer. That's what I did, especially at Fraunhofer back then. And something which also started to annoy me is that we got recognized just by the paper we wrote, but not by the software we developed. And at the beginning, because of this, I was an open source enthusiast, because it was like, okay, software is created. We need to get recognition for that. We have to bring that out. But it kind of moved on because of this movement I met. I got to know about, which started in the UK. The name is Research Software Engineering. And they have this motto, which is better software is better research. And I liked that a lot. And I started becoming part of this community. And from being a research software engineer, I started doing software engineering and research. I started to research software engineering researcher, which now that's a little bit complicated, but it means that not only I'm trying to support scientists by doing typical research software engineer activities, but I also research how people who are not computer scientists or software developers by trade develop software, which is happening everywhere. Like in all the different fields of research, people write code, and I want to understand how they do it, what are the differences, especially to industry. And then, of course, how can I support them? How can I help them to do this in a better way, in a more sustainable way? And so this is how I ended up with this kind of bulky research software engineering researcher title, which is currently what I'm doing, as well as focusing on this recognition part, especially in the research area, and became kind of spokeswoman for software and research and the recognition we should get there by means of citing software and not only journals and stuff like that. So with this journey, I kind of resulted in a job which is kind of broad. So I'm doing a lot of things. I'm doing research. As I mentioned, I try to figure out how do people who have not a computer science background or software development background write code? How do they develop software? How can we support them? I do still typical research software engineering tasks, which is giving trainings, giving consultations, stuff like that. I'm a spokeswoman, you could say, because I give talks, I give keynotes. I travel to places and talk about research software engineering, that it exists, that it's important, and that especially the software has far too little role as playing currently in research. And because I'm head of a research group as well as a deputy head of a department, of course, a part of my day has to deal with management, with hiring people, with offering writing job offers and all of this, but also like, and Yeah, obviously important for what I'm doing is also the context in which I'm doing it. And since perhaps not everybody knows what the German Aerospace Center is, I brought at least one slide to give you a little bit of the context. So in total, for the German Aerospace Center, there's more than 10,000 people working. We are distributed on 55 institutes and facilities on 35 locations and offices all over Germany. So wherever you want to work in Germany, there's normally a DLR institute close by, as you can see. And the German Aerospace Center focus on a lot of different topics. So from aeronautics and space to over energy and traffic, but also we have like topics like security and digitalization. And so, for example, data science is something which is present in a lot of institutes. Normally always focused on a specific domain, but we also have now like 4 or 5 institutes who really focus on software and all the topics around it, like our Institute for Software Technology. And in this position, while we are officially a space institute, so belonging to the space domain, we work with all of the different institutes, and it's really interesting. And because you have to meet all these people working on crazy domain-specific parts. Like, I bring some examples later, some small ones where I was working with people, but it's really interesting, and it's always looking over your own plate, looking into all these domains and their needs and their requirements and supporting them. And so as you see, I'm focusing more in a lot of my task in software engineering, but this doesn't mean that we don't do also some data science. But first, a little bit more about what we do regarding software engineering. So my group and I started in 2005, so even before my time, it was started the Software Engineering Initiative of DLR, which was really focusing on actively supporting the scientists, like I mentioned at the beginning. So it was about giving trainings, doing consultations internally, creating a community, running workshops, but also developing guidelines and tools which are helpful for people so they know, okay, what is it I should do in regards of software engineering, like testing and all these things. And in 2017, we started to focus really on the development of research software. So we included more trainings and more things focusing really on the specifics of research software, because we figured out there are differences if you do this, if you work in this field. And we try to develop activities and adapt our trainings and what we had, especially on the use cases here, like especially publishing software, like along a paper or something, like software, like how does this have to look like? What do I have to take care about it? And so we try to focus on these use cases. And in 2019, we extended our work, which was until then mainly inside of DLR, to all Helmholtz via the HIFIS platform, which is a nice platform with all the Helmholtz institutes. And we started to now offer trainings and consultation for all of Helmholtz. And it's great because you get even more peeks into these different domains which are covered by Helmholtz, and you work with all these interesting and motivated people. But we also do some kind of data science, because this is now about the research we do on research software. So, for example, we started really with some basic things, like we just made a survey to get an idea about our community. For example, like who is attending our workshops, and is it important where it's located or what the specific topic was. It was always about software engineering, but we had different focus points. We had it on different locations, and we had a look and tried to figure out something about that so we would know how we should offer trainings. We also did a survey about the development. So this was a different one. The first one was more like a data analyzation of the workshops we did. This was more a survey where we asked people a lot of things about how they develop software. And one example I brought here was we asked people, like, are you testing your software? And 96.6% said yes. And we were like, great. And then we asked the second question, which was like, how do you test? Automatically, semi-automatically, or manually? And nearly everybody's just doing it manually. So obviously there's a lot of work to get people to test automatically and so on. And so this is like the basic things we started with to get an understanding how software development happens in research. And to be honest, a lot of things is on the basics. So you can achieve quite something with trainings and with making people aware that it's important to do these things, and it's not so hard. And this is why it's always the mixture for us of doing research and taking the knowledge and trying to improve the support systems for the researchers. But we also go a little bit deeper, especially in the regards of data science. So we see software not only as a result, but also as a research thing. So on one hand, we asked the people and we looked how do they behave, which workshops do they attend and stuff like this. But we also looked on the code, and we looked like on the source code and the repositories around it, the issue tracker and all of this. And we had a look like how frequently do people commit? How often do they write issues? How quickly are issues resolved and stuff like that? So what we did is we used all these data, which is inside the software repositories, all this metadata about the software development. We extracted it to a provenance standard, which you can use which is a standard which allows you to present like how data came to be. And for us, it's about like how did software came to be, like who developed it, who did what, how many commits, whatever. And we looked at all of this to get a better understanding about the software engineering process behind software. And so we developed tools for that to extract the data, to analyze the data, and we used it also to evaluate software projects. And one example was, for example, the Corona Warn app, which was big in Germany, and we used it because it was developed open source, so we could have a look into it and had a look how is the software development process. Do they have a good structure? Do they have a good process? And luckily I can say, yes, they have. So we had a look into that. And obviously we also use this for our internal projects, which we consult on or something like that to get a better understanding how people are working. And this is, I think, quite typical data science task, which we do here. So this is kind of my day-to-day work. And I mentioned several times that we do these consultation things, and I also brought an example there, so which was one of my highlights, which was especially to work on exciting projects with amazing people who are motivated. So one thing was, for example, that one team developed a drone which should automatically check on solar-powered not solar-powered, but solar. Now I'm missing the word. Solar power plants. So the problem is that the mirrors often get dirty, or also from the heat, they kind of transform over time. So they need to be checked if they are still as productive as they could be, or if they need to be replaced or just cleaned. And they used a drone, really off-the-shelf hardware they used, and developed software for that. And to be honest, they started doing this in a research project more for getting an idea about the quality of these power plants. And then they figured out, you can use it for the maintenance. And so this was a project where it should be a startup should be fund out of that. And we were part of it to ensure that the software quality is high enough. And so we were allowed to go to Almeria in Spain and visit the place, a power plant, and we gave trainings to all of the people working on the software. And then we had really, over the years, steady contact where we helped them with the software engineering process. We supported them in all the different stages. And that was really interesting to do because, I think it's a great project. It's right in the direction where the world needs to go. And it showed that out of research, there can be results which are important also for the industry. And so I like that a lot. Another project I really liked was about creating a communication software for mission control centers. So they have these communication tools. So when you imagine in movies, they say mission control, we have a problem. Then it's not that they just have like normal radio or something, but they have a whole complex system. Like they have all these different, you could say like call groups which they're constantly in, and people depending on their role have different permissions to speak or just to listen. And so it's really, really complicated how they do audio communications, and voice communications. It's not like, it's more like you can imagine a whole chat system where you have all the different chat groups you are in, or like on your phone or something, but they do this with audio. And so from technical points, this was interesting, but also from the use case, because we went into the mission control rooms, we talked to the people working there, we were allowed to play with the user interfaces which the old systems had to improve on that. And so this was developed also as an open source solution, and we were part of it to support regarding the user interface design and the software engineering behind it. And also this was really nice, and the software was then already used in test runs also in astronaut suits, so they could call mission control, and it wasn't tested yet in space as far as I know, but in a big pool which we have in Cologne, where the astronauts go for training, really on a Columbus module or something. They get like sunk into the pool, and then they do their training in the whole spacesuit and everything. And so this was tested there. That's kind of amazing things. Then, as always, when you go into research, you meet great people. Like I met one of the famous Margaret, who developed the code for one of the first space missions. And yeah, we met at a conference. It was kind of amazing for me personally, because she's one of my idols. Yeah, and the last, I mentioned it several times, is working just with people from all these different fields within DLR and within Helmholtz, who all deal with software engineering and software development, mostly not as their main task, but as the tooling they have. They are data scientists, they are come from the physics field, they come from all the different domains, but they're all dealing with the same issue and problems. And I love working with all these different people, because normally people who are working in research are focused on their topic, and they are enthusiastic about their topic. They love working on it. It's not because it's something in research which brings you to the next step. It brings you and the whole world into the future, and you're working not on the next shopping tool or something, or the next online shop or whatever, but you work on something which has meaning. And so people are enthusiastic, and it's great to work with them together, because this enthusiasm normally goes into all the things they do. And that's what I love about working within DLR, but also within Helmholtz. And with this, I come to my last slide, which is saying thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you're looking for a job, we're hiring. Obviously, I had to bring that in. Not only my institute, which is also offering PhD positions, student positions, and research positions, but also within all of DLR, because, yeah, computer scientists or data scientists are needed and searched for in nearly all our institutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carina Haupt. That was a pretty inspiring talk. And as Carina said, just check out their job opportunities. And the DLR is also here today with us, having an own booth. And Carina, we have a few questions for you, so I hope you got some time. So there's one from Isabel. Great. She would like to know if you could recommend some courses for sustainable software development, preferably open access. Are there any you can share with us?
Yeah, so I have an echo. Okay, let's try again. Better. So currently we just offer trainings. So we as a group offer trainings just on Helmholtz level, but it's via the HIDA platform or HiFIS platform. And there we have a training which is like how to publish your software in research. And it's kind of focused on sustainable software engineering. So we changed the name, the title several times, but it's really focusing on that. And all our materials are open access. So they are all available under CC BY. Everybody can use them. Everybody is invited to give these trainings. And a part of that one, which we offer frequently via HiFIS, there's also some basic ones which we recommend, which are like focusing on the usage of Git and GitLab as a tooling, or developing software as a team, which is like an advanced one again. So this is like 3 different courses we give. But there's also in general, if you're interested and you're perhaps not part of Helmholtz, you either can try to sign up anyway and ask like if there's still places left. If there are, we are happy to give them also to other people. But there's also, for example, the software carpentries. And software carpentries is also like a community thing. And they offer a lot of trainings openly to everybody or on institutes and universities, depending on where you are. And it's community-based. They have a train-to-trainer system. So you can become a trainer. I'm also a first-year trainer. And then you give courses again and stuff like that. So they offer a lot of interesting things, especially in the data science field. And their system of live coding, and so it's really, really great. And we use this also for our training. So our courses are heavily built on their trainings and their training concepts, like how they do the trainings and stuff like that. So we rely on them.
And, so we can see there are a lot of opportunities outside there. Great. So you should also all check out our course catalog again. I think the link will be posted in the chat also. Great. There's another question from Mher. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Haupt. Do you think that the software engineering quality for researchers would increase if some of the code got shared on open source platforms, bringing more attention to their code quality from their peers? So like peer-to-peer feedback, is that a...
Yeah. In my opinion, the first thing is that we need more time and resources to develop good code, to develop sustainable code. But obviously, if others are using your code, it's motivating you to write it in a way that they can do so easily. First, it's nice if you know somebody just can use it. Also, it's annoying if they ask questions all the times and you have always to give an answer. So you try to do it in a way that they can do it from the start. But on the other hand, just telling people you have to do it open source is also hard, because I often hear the argument that, yeah, my code is not nice enough. It's not like the perfect tooling for everybody. And my answer is always like, right there what your use case was. If it's just for a paper, do it that it's understandable and readable and that somebody else can execute it. But if they want to modify it, it's okay to have a hard-coded relative path or something in there. So you don't have to provide a nice toolkit. It's totally fine if you just provide a good code which they can execute and adapt on their own. And I think we have also to change the mindset in the researchers that it's okay to share non-perfect code, but it's still better than not sharing the code. And if then they get input and feedback from their peers and others are using it in a way or even contributing to it, I think then we get this automatic situation that, yeah, you have this, okay, other people are using this. I'm motivated to work on that. But again, you always need the time to do this. So in the end, we need funding which recognizes that software development needs time, that needs resources. And this is changing currently, but this needs to change even further.
I think thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this advice. So everybody be brave, share it, use the feedback you can get. Nobody needs to be perfect in the beginning. I have, I think, our last question from Julie. She said, beautiful presentation. I would like to know more about the job and PhD opportunities you mentioned, but maybe can you share something about it? Otherwise, I would just advise that this can be found out in the expo area later and the website, or are there anything you...
Yeah, so what I perhaps For PhD, I can say when you start with DLR, there's a whole PhD program. So it's not just you work in your small group or something. So this is nice. And I can say that in my group, especially in the field of research software engineering, empirical research software engineering, but also other topics, we are offering PhD positions. And in the end, there's so many institutes, there's so many offers. Have a look at DLR-DE jobs and check also in from time to time. Or if you're interested in a PhD, it's also possible to do a initiative application. So just write to institutes which are interesting to you and ask if they might have a PhD position open, because we are measured about how many people do PhDs with us. So we try to have them. Obviously, you're still in funding, but sometimes it's a lot of effort to write out all these possibilities we have. So it could make sense to always just write an email to people or use the application function which we have with DLR-DE, which is also there if you don't have a specific job offer you apply for.
It's wonderful. And for this, I would also like to mention again our data science schools. You should also check out them. Carina, thanks a lot for your talk. It was nice to have you with us here today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.